Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John and today I'm going to be doing another tag video. Now I was not tagged for this. I saw this on E.D. Lewis Reviews channel, and this is an original tag that was created by Elizabeth Sagewood. Okay, so if you're not subscribed to either one of those channels, then by all means just go over there, check out their channel, hit that subscribe button, and I do believe you will be quite pleasantly surprised because they both have excellent channels. Alright, so now the only thing is I forgot to open up the page that has the questions on here, so bear with me just 1 second. I don't even think I've said what the name of the tag is, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Sorry about that. Okay, and make sure the volume is off here so I can get the questions. Alright, so this is the Haunted Victorian book tag. Alright, so now your answers on this, the questions, they don't all have to do with Victorian era horror or anything like that, but you can kind of use that as a template if you want to. If your answers don't involve books or movies that take place in the Victorian era or were written in the Victorian era, that is perfectly fine. Like I said, these are just this is the template for you to expand on your answers or whatever, or to give whatever answer you want to give. So now that I've said all of that, I'm going to shut the hell up and get on. Well, I'm going to get on with the questions. All right. So, number 1, Halloween 1979. Move-in day. Alright? Tell us your favorite Halloween memory from when you were growing up. Alright? I guess my favorite Halloween memory from when I was growing up was just being able to go out and go trick-or-treating, you know, and dress up in costume. And, you know, and you look back now, you look at some of the costumes back then, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe I wore those, you know. But when you were a little kid, you put those costumes on, you felt like you were whoever the costume was of. Like if you put on a Superman costume and Superman mask like I did, or Batman, yeah, I felt like I was Superman. I felt like I was Batman. So that's the fun thing for me, was just being able to be these characters that I enjoyed and looked up to. So that's my answer for that. And of course, getting candy. I mean, what kid doesn't love getting candy? All right. So yeah, number 1, that's my answer right there. Okay, number 2, this is where I'm going to kind of go off script a little bit. Number 2, built in 1902. Recommend your favorite Gaslamp author, book, or story. So story, that means that I can actually go off script here, and I'm going to talk about, because a lot of people talk about, they're going to say, well, they like Dracula or Frankenstein, and I love those, but I talk about them a lot. So I'm going to talk about one that I haven't very much mentioned here on my channel, but it does take place in the Gaslamp era. It is about Jack the Ripper, and I'm talking about the graphic novel From Hell. And this is by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. This book is a monster of a book. All right. Now the one thing about this is the artwork is kind of crude. I've got the master edition, which is in color, but the artwork is kind of crude. But the story and all the it kind of takes all the history of Jack the Ripper and all the conspiracies about Jack the Ripper and rolls them into one, as only Alan Moore can tell it. Okay, now there is the movie From Hell with Johnny Depp and Heather Graham, and I like that movie, but Alan Moore, of course, disowned it because they took liberties with the story. But anyway, yeah, that is the story that I'm picking for this particular question. That is From Hell, and that's by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. Okay. Number 3, The Haunted Staircase. Have you ever had a paranormal experience? If so, tell us about it. Alright, I've told this story before. It's kind of long, but bear with me, please. I've told the story before when I first started BookTube, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of other people, I've got new subscribers, so a lot of you guys have not heard this. Alright, so I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. But anyway, my grandmother was 96 or 97 years old when she passed away. She died in my home, the home I grew up when I was a kid. I was 12 years old. She passed away in the house, all right? Now, before she passed away, my grandmother got a little bit, what would you call eccentric? I don't think she had Alzheimer's or dementia or anything like that, but she was a bit eccentric, okay? And she would wander around the house at night, okay? And a lot of times I would be home alone with her, and she had this habit of, she had this Albert Einstein hair, all right? It just, all like that and everything. And she had a habit of peeking around corners, and when she would peek around a corner, she would have a washcloth. I don't know why, but she would have a washcloth hanging down. And so if she peeks around the corner and you catch her out of the corner of your eye, you're like, ah! You know, I mean, yes, I did that many a time. But I would always be gentle with her, and I would say, Grandma, go to bed, okay? And she would go, oh, like that. And she would shuffle off, and you could hear her slippers shuffling, okay? So after my grandmother passed away, about 6 months later, I had moved into her old room, her old bed. All right? I'm not making any of this up. Okay? I'm just letting you know that right now. It happened to me. Okay? All right. So one night I'm lying there, and the bed is up against the wall. It's in a corner against the wall. I'm facing the wall, my back to the room. All right? And all of a sudden I hear that same shuffling sound of her slippers, and I don't think anything about it. It didn't register with me, and I said, Grandma, go to bed. Okay? I forgot that I was sleeping in her bed, and again, I am not BSing you about this. I felt someone get into the bed with me, and I could feel their back up against my back. I did not move the entire time. And the only reason I didn't was because if this is my grandmother, I know she means me no harm. She is just checking up on me, and that is the way I looked at it. I just kept facing toward. I got up the next morning. Everything was fine. I asked my parents. I said, did you guys come into my room? And they're like, no, we did not. I said, okay. I didn't tell them what happened because my parents don't believe in ghosts, or they didn't believe in ghosts. So I'm like, all right, why tell them? Because they're just going to think I'm nuts. So that is my biggest paranormal experience. I have had a few other ones, but that is my biggest one. The most recent one was one when I was walking. This is before my wife passed away. I was walking through our bedroom to get to the bathroom, the ensuite bathroom as they call it, to use the bathroom. Just before I stepped into the bathroom, I heard an audible voice behind me go, oh shit, in kind of a whisper voice. And I'm like, I turn around, there's no one there. There's no way anybody could be hiding in under the bed. The bed is too low. I looked in the closet. Like I said, our closet is a mess. There's no way anybody is in the closet. There's no way it's my neighbors. So where that voice came from, I have absolutely no idea. So those are my biggest paranormal experiences right there. Okay? Alright, so I'm sorry that was so long, but you asked and I had to explain it in such a way. Alright, number 4, Sleepwalker. Recommend a book or movie featuring a creepy kid or creepy doll. I'm going to recommend a book. And this is by Ray Garton, and this is The Girl in the Basement. Alright? So, if I remember the plot of it correctly, it's about this kid that goes to live at like this, I don't know, it's kind of like a halfway house, or like maybe an orphanage, or this home for kids or whatever. I'm not sure why, but there's this one girl that they keep in the basement, and you know, you're sitting there going, why would they keep this child in the basement? And I don't want to spoil the book for you, but they do have a good reason for keeping this kid in the basement, and it is a very creepy reason, okay? So yeah, that is my answer for that. The Girl in the Basement, Ray Garton. Okay. Let's see. Number 5, The Angry Ghost. Recommend a book or movie featuring a demonic or vengeful character. For that one, I am choosing the remake of The Invisible Man, starring Elizabeth Moss and Oliver Jackson Cohen. The reason I picked that is because the movie is about this scientist or inventor or whatever, and he's abusive. He's abusive to his wife, Elizabeth Moss, and she tries to get away from him. Well, he has built this thing that enables him to become invisible, and he uses that to make her life pretty much a living hell in a very quite vengeful manner. Now, that's one of those things like abusive people are. You don't leave me, I say when you leave me, and all that sort of stuff, and he is making her pay for leaving him. Okay, so that is why I picked that. It's also an excellent, one of the best remakes I've ever seen of a movie. It's a fantastic little movie. All right, Elizabeth Moss is great in it. Okay, all right, so that's my answer on that one. Number 6. Wow, I don't know if I have an answer for this one. Tell us a well-known ghost story or urban legend from your area. Okay, now I live in California. I've been living in California since 2005, and you know what? I have not really heard all that many ghost stories about here I live in Bakersfield. Now we do have the Padre Hotel. Now originally there was an old rundown hotel, and they've now reopened it. They remodeled it. It looks great, and it's expensive as hell. I've never stayed there, and I don't plan to. But anyway, I have heard that the Padre is haunted. I'm sure there are probably a few haunted graveyards here, but really other than that, I haven't heard very much. Okay? Now, if you want to go back to where I am from, which is South Carolina, oh, good Lord, we've got quite a few stories. There's the story of the Gray Man. And he is, I don't remember what beach it is, but he is this gray apparition, and usually he is a, what's it called, a portent, or whatever you call it, like whenever something really bad is going to happen, like a natural disaster, he usually shows up just before. Alright, so usually if he shows up, there's usually a hurricane that knocks crap all over the place and, you know, causes lots of damage and loss of life. So yeah, that is the one that I remember the most all my life hearing is about the Gray Man. So there you go. Those are my answers on that one. Number 7, The Well. Recommend a book or movie with a tragic plot. Again, I'm going to a movie, and I'm going to talk about The Orphanage. Alright, I believe this is from 2007. Anyway, it's about this woman, and she grew up in an orphanage, and she loved the orphanage, and I guess was taken very well care of. Well, when she gets older, she talks her husband she wants to purchase it and live in the orphanage, you know, fix it up and everything, live in the orphanage and all. Well, they have a little boy. I think it's Simon, or Simon, I believe is how he pronounces his name. But anyway, Simon he's HIV positive. All right. Well, he disappears. They can't find this kid. That he disappears, and she's frantic. All right, and she starts being visited by the ghost of the children that lived in the orphanage. All right. And like I said, this does have a very tragic plot. I don't want to spoil it for you. If you've never seen The Orphanage, just check it out and you will understand why I say that this story there's a tragic plot to this story. All right. Okay. I guess another one I could have possibly picked is The Woman in Black, but I chose The Orphanage for this particular answer. Okay. So there you go. Let's see. Number 8. Cemetery Playground. Every tomb tells a story. Recommend a short story anthology. So I started drawing a blank on this one. Okay, and so I said, you know what? I'm just going to look up horror anthologies. All right. Now, to me, an anthology is a collection of several different stories, but the way the list on these things I saw are by different authors. All right. But the list I saw for this had stuff by just one author and all their stories, like H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe. So I'm going to pick that's a collection to me. So I'm going to pick a collection, and I'm going to pick an anthology that I have not read yet, And I don't know if you guys know where this is going, but anyway, so let's start with the collection. So of course for the collection, I'm going to choose the complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe, all right? Because you can't go wrong with Poe. All right, he was just a fantastic horror writer. His stories, you know, even though they're written years ago, many years ago, over 100 years ago, they still scare the crap out of you. Like The Black Cat, The Telltale Heart, The Cask of Amontillado. You know, that was, I didn't really care for that when I was a little kid, but then when I read it again, and you got thinking, this guy is walled up. He's entombed forever. And spoiler alert, if you have never read The Cask of Amontillado, you know, I just spoiled it for you, and I'm sorry about that. So yes, for collection, I'm going to say Edgar Allan Poe. Now for the anthology, like I said, I just received this, and I'm lazy. I don't feel like going over and grabbing the paperback copy, but I bought a paperback copy and I bought a Kindle copy. I am talking about the latest HorrorTube anthology, Lurking in the Dark. All right? This has got stories by all of your well-known horror tubers slash booktubers slash horror tubers like Pax Panic. You got Steve Donahue, I believe, has a story in here. Marie McWilliams, and about 20-something more people. I believe there's like 23 or 24 stories in here. So if you, and I know this kind of sounds like free advertising, like I'm plugging this, you know, because what do I get out of it? I get nothing out of it. I read this, I want to support these writers. That is why. So if you have not picked up your copy of Lurking in the Dark, by all means, pick up your copy of Lurking in the Dark. So, and also I'm trying to figure out how many times I can say Lurking in the Dark. All right, anyway, okay. Number 9, Haunted Sleepover. What were your sleepover must-haves? I never had a sleepover. I'm sorry. I mean, well, I guess, you know, I did, because, you know, you have friends and everything, you're like, hey, Mom, can so-and-so spend the night or whatever? Sure, you know. But as far as must-haves, just the must-haves were just like, we would, you know, we were two kids that would stay up all night and tell ghost stories and, you know, and watch horror movies and things like that. So if you want to say that's a must-have, yeah, that's my must-have, you know, but I didn't have too many of those, and it's just like, you know, I mean, because I don't know, I think the reason why I'm laughing about this, because when I hear the word sleepover, I just think girls. I think girls have sleepovers. You know, if you have two male friends, you know, it's like, hey, Mom, can so-and-so spend the night? It's spending the night, you know. It's not like we're going to be up, you know, giggling and doing each other's hair. You know, and my hair was fairly long when I was a kid, but it looked terrible in curls. I mean, so... And if you don't believe me, I had a permanent one time, and yeah, no, you just don't want to see that. I mean, I look like a poodle on steroids, like, you know. Anyway, those are my answers. So number 10 is I got to tag others to take part. I don't know how long this has been going out. I think it's been out for a couple of weeks now. So I'm not going to tag anybody. If you haven't done this tag, you're tagged. There you go. Okay? Anyway, thank you guys for watching this, and yeah, you know, take care and stay scared. All right, and happy Halloween. Okay, bye bye.